it's been a slow bleed out. I've been feeling this way for majority of the season. I think the small glimpses of, good stretches that we've played, gave me hope and probably gave everybody else hope. So, you never want it to be that you're squeezing into the last spot of the play-in in the first place. So, kind of expected at this point.
It's Devin Booker a couple nights ago after the Suns lost to Oklahoma City, a loss that sealed their fate finally. And Devin Booker describing this season as a slow bleed out. It's a really good phrase with emphasis on slow.
And I'm glad Book was pretty candid after that last game. And he sat there, he faced the music. He's been very frustrated, and sometimes in those post-game locker room situations, he's very short, he's very curt, he's very much out, get me the hell out of here. But to his credit, as leaders should do, as veterans should do, he sat down at the podium or at the press conference table and he answered every question. And I thought he was candid, I thought he was honest. And I talked a little bit about this yesterday. When he says eking into the playoff as a 10 seed play-in, that's not where we wanted to be anyway. And I'm of the firm belief, even though they said all the right things down the stretch, I don't think this team had any interest in being the 10th seed.
No.
And I think we saw that with their effort.
Absolutely.
Their effort night in and night out down the stretch.
It was evident. And there was some Suns fans who were like, what are you chasing? And I was one of them, like, because of the realization of this expensive team with all this star power and all these expectations. Would that have made you feel better if Tuesday night they were getting ready for a 9-10 game? It really wouldn't have made me feel better. I can't speak for everybody, but there was a lot of Suns fans that were poring over the schedule. Well, Dallas has this team and Sacramento has this team, and there's still a chance that maybe they can eke in.
It's still better than nothing.
No, is it?
Yes. 10th is better than 11. It's more embarrassing to not even make the play-in.
What if
you don't
they
think
went
that's
into
more
the
embarrassing?
9-10 and they got blown out by 35 points?
I think the players had fear of that. I actually think the players had a fear of, like, I think we would, if we won those two games to get in, to get absolutely bludgeoned and humiliated by the Thunder is not something we're interested in as well.
I think what happened, I think the 4-game winning streak actually reinvigorated the team and obviously the fan base. And then that was immediately followed by absolutely getting punched in the face and bludgeoned
repeatedly
by the Boston, but specifically that first game by the Boston Celtics without Jason Tatum. They got blown out, and that might have been the time when the Suns just said, okay, that's the reality. And then Kevin Durant got hurt, and then you're right. I think they just sort of totally shifted into, like, we're going to try this first quarter of every game, and if it's not going well.
And even the other night, the first half, they played decently, and when it started to go south, it just never changed directions again. And yesterday we spent some time, and Devin Booker specifically, what are his feelings? Because he's a guy that's going to be here, and we're going to get more into that subject later on in the show, but reading in between the lines and where he is as a leader of this team and, how cryptic is he in what he's saying. And this was an exchange that kind of stood out from the other night on Wednesday after that loss to Oklahoma City with the media.
You said vocalizing a lot of this that's on your mind. Are you saying more of that with regard to your teammates or maybe the people around the organization that are making decisions?
Everybody.
So needing to be more vocal with everybody. Is that a callback to something that was reported by Chris Haynes earlier this year?
I think it is.
When the report was, if you're not familiar with it, that Mike Budenholzer approached Devin Booker and said, "Hey, pipe down. We need one voice, and it needs to be my voice. Don't be as vocal." And I'm paraphrasing what the report was, and everybody kind of went, "What?"
If I could do a Morgan Freeman, I would say, and at that point, Mike Budenholzer lost Devin Booker. Get Frank Caliendo on the phone. He can deliver that line.
Frank might be listening too.
Yeah, I think there's a not so subtle, if not subtle, shot across the bow there at Mike Budenholzer. Like, that didn't go over well.
Yeah,
the Suns tried to diffuse it a little bit after the Chris Haynes report came out, but yeah, come on. I mean, people want Devin Booker to step up and be a leader. I mean, that's been some of the criticism heaped on him and Durant during the course of the last couple of years.
The last 2 years, that's been the biggest criticism of those guys.
So Booker tries to do exactly that, and then the coach tells him to pipe down. If that report is accurate.
If it's accurate, but also...
Booker never said it wasn't. They never said it wasn't.
No, Mike Budenholzer never said it wasn't either. He kind of moonwalked away from it as well. And let's face it. I mean, one thing we can say, I don't know a ton about Mike Budenholzer, the coach, because he's been kind of shut off from the media, not very accessible. But I can say this. I don't think he's a dynamic communicator. I think that probably bleeds over with the teams as well.
Yeah, what they both said was like, we have lots of conversations. Yeah. Maybe that was one of them, but it's not a big deal.
I know what they said. I mean, it was the non-denial denial, and I mean, we talk all the time, but we're in a good place. Devin Booker, when he says it was a slow bleed out, I mean, going back, we've all seen enough of Devin Booker to know that man did not look happy this year.
No, not at all.
We thought he didn't look happy last year until we saw him play this year.
Positively joyful. Positively like Nikola Jokic in his prime joy.
I was going through it again, some of the numbers, and we had Shane Young on yesterday from Forbes and reading his piece over. And some of the things he pointed out from defensive metrics. Last year, the defense was pretty terrible, ranked 12th in the NBA.
Wow. But do you think there's been any joy and fun on this team since they broke up the squad and they added Kevin Durant?
I think there were moments when Durant and Booker were playing at their peak powers. Like, things were good. They looked good.
Things were good. The team looked good, but there never felt like there was that.
No, I think it's few and far between.
Yeah.
Because even if you go back to the first year when they got Durant at the deadline, the injury followed. When he got healthy after that ankle injury, it was a sprint to the playoffs. And there was pressure. So it wasn't, hey, I'm going to ease my way in. There was immediate pressure, and they played well down the stretch. They won 7 games in a row and then lost their last 2 going into that playoff run.
And before Chris Paul got hurt, I mean, they were winning game 2 in Denver by about 8 points in the third quarter. Mm-hmm. I mean, and then they come home, and Durant and Booker in games 3 and 4 were unbelievable.
Yeah. And
then when Ayton went down, coupled with Chris Paul being down, they had no chance to overcome Jokic and those guys.
Yeah.
I mean, so it was times were good back then. I've said this before on the air. I don't have I can't go back in time. I don't know. But if the Suns had to do it all over again, would they have run the Durant era back with Ayton and Paul and Kamara and Booker, and then try to fill in the gaps with an Eric Gordon type and some other vet minimum guys, and say Chris Paul, Booker, Ayton, KD, Kamara, go out there and try to replicate what you did down the stretch?
I don't think anybody with the organization would ever admit that. We can have those conversations. That certainly seems.
Oh, I know they wouldn't. I mean,
yeah, but it certainly seems more plausible that team would be good than what we've seen this year. But we'll never know.
We'll never. I just, it was getting very difficult at that point to trust Chris Paul to make it through a playoff run.
And Chris Paul in town tonight, playing in his 81st game of the year.
On Bradley Beal bobblehead night at the arena.
We'll get into that, too.
Arena, yeah.
Thanks for watching Bickley and Marotta. Click to see the latest Bickley Blast and hit the button in the middle to subscribe to Arizona Sports.